Normally, business in the United States Senate sort of slips by without much of a vote on anything. In fact, a lot gets done through something called unanimous consent, where if nobody objects, it goes through. That's typically true for military nominations, for promotions, for general officers, for instance. But that all changed after the Biden administration decided to start using Pentagon funding to assist in the abortion of babies. One senator from Alabama couldn't stomach that. His name is Tommy Tuberville. And beginning in February, he began objecting to these unanimous consent requests and saying, you want to get people promoted, you've got to do it through regular order. Now, the White House and some Republicans are accusing this senator of imperiling our military. For more on this topic, we're very happy to have with us Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. Sir, so grateful for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Thanks for having me on.
Did I get all that right? That seems to be why you started all of this. You thought, this is illegal. You shouldn't be aborting children using military tax dollars. So if you want these promotions, you got to do it through regular order.
Yeah, and in executive overreach, Vince, this new policy is directed from the White House and the Pentagon. And 40 years ago, 1984, it passed in the Senate, voted on by Joe Biden himself in the NDAA, and then it's been amended a couple of times in other NDAAs over the years. And the policy that we've had, Vince, has worked perfectly. We even had a briefing about this, and I asked one of the policy people that changed this from the White House, okay, I want to see your complaints. I know you've got a lot of complaints if you decide to change this policy, but we've had no complaints. I said, so you're changing a policy that's worked perfectly for 40 years, no complaints from anybody, and you're going to change it just because you want to change it, not because you can change it. And so they had no answers. They really don't have a policy anymore. It used to be for rape, incest, and harm to the mom. Now we can't even get a straight story from them on what month they can have this abortion. So it's really, the White House has really overstepped its boundaries here. They're over their skis. Pentagon the same way. They have no rhyme or reason why they're doing this, other than the fact that Roe Wade, a month before they put this policy down, was changed back to the states. They can't control the states, but I guess they think they can control federal employees.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed in all of the coverage of this, almost all of the coverage of this, Senator, is that you are always the one on the receiving end of all of the blame for this situation. In fact, they make it seem that you have created a massive national security risk. You're imperiling the military. In fact, just to give you an example of this, one I'm certain you've heard before, here's the White House saying in June that you are putting our national security at risk.
I mean, first of all, it's shameful that he's doing this, right? I mean, he needs to be asked the question is, why is he putting our national security at risk? That is something for a senator to be able to answer to.
So, in other words, nobody's really challenging the White House at all that they have put this illegal policy in place. They could have all of this resolved in a moment, couldn't they?
Exactly. I mean, it's a two-way street. All they got to do is, and I told them, listen, here's what we do. You move the policy back. And if you'll move the policy back, send us what you want us to vote on, and we'll vote on it. And whichever way it goes is fine, but I take the holds off no matter which way the vote goes. But they don't want to do that. They want to dictate from the White House this executive overreach that the American people don't deserve, and then they want taxpayers to have to pay for the travel, the 3 weeks off after an abortion. Let their dependents now, their kids get to have a abortion. Their kids, if you're a military kid, you get travel paid for. It's just amazing to me why they would do this when they know it's going to create a problem.
So the White House has been arguing that they need to abort more babies in the military for something called military readiness. That's what they claim. Have they ever provided any evidence to support that?
Zero. They have no answer to any question that I ask them. And it goes back, they're saying, you just heard the young lady say something about national security. Now, we're talking about a couple hundred people out of 2 million. That Pentagon over there is full of generals and admirals that drive around, have a great life. These are not war fighters. Now, there are a few of them at the bottom level that are brigadier generals that probably they might be able to give a rhyme or reason for that they need to be out in the field. But if you're in that Pentagon, I could care less because there are so many people over there. There's not enough parking spots. We have 44 four-star generals, and we had 7 during World War II. What are we doing? And each four-star has a budget of like $200 or $300 million, couple thousand personal employees. I mean, it's like a business within a business. And the American people, we're broke. We're dead broke. But we need, if we're going to spend any money in the military, it needs to be on war fighters and it needs to be on weapons to protect this country. That's national security.
So do you think the White House actually believes our national security is at risk? If they did, wouldn't they just scrap this stupid abortion policy immediately?
Exactly. That's what I tell everybody. You're exactly right. If you're really concerned about it, just move it back and let's sit down and negotiate this. But if you look at what's going on in Israel, if you look at what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, this White House has no diplomacy skills, no negotiation skills. It's their way or the highway. And the American people are getting sick of it. Now, you've got senators and congressmen on both sides of the aisle up here that, for some reason, they go along with some of this stuff. As you saw last week, I was attacked by senators.
I want people to hear some of this so they have the context for it, Senator. This is Senators Dan Sullivan and Joni Ernst on the Senate floor attacking you, of all people.
We're going to look back at this episode and just be stunned at what a national security suicide mission this became.
We have done the best that we can to honor the request of a fellow senator that these nominations be brought to the floor and voted on individually. And I really respect men of their word. I do not respect men who do not honor their word.
Now that's got to sting, but I wouldn't understand that point at all. I said last week when this audio came out, when they were saying that statement, that you didn't stop a single vote on the Senate floor. You just registered an objection yet again to unanimous consent. Am I right?
You're exactly right. And these 2 senators have come to me over the 9 months, and they've been trying to push me to get this rectified. And I told them, listen, I'm willing to do this, but we got to put pressure on the White House and the Pentagon. Let's do it the right way. And I said, as long as we go through regular order, and they think unanimous consent is regular order, they need to go back to school. Unanimous consent is not the rules of the Senate. It doesn't require a cloture vote. I want the vote brought to the floor, voted on by every senator, which we call a cloture vote, and then the nomination vote to confirm. But for some reason, and I explained it to them, don't bring this as unanimous consent, because I've done this. I think I've been on the floor 12 or 13 times in the last 9 months fighting against Democrats. And I've been on the floor for hours objecting. And so the senators knew that this wasn't right. But to call me out and say I'm not being,
a man of honor.
Truthful. Yeah, man of honor, truthful. I mean, really. I mean that's what they're not doing. They're not being a senator of honor when I've told them don't do this. I've been doing this for 9 months against the Democrats, and you to bring it up is not going to make any difference of whether we do it or not. I'm not going to confirm those. You've got to go through regular order, and I'm the one that's got all these other ones confirmed. What you can do, the only control you have of getting a vote on the Senate floor in a minority is to get a petition of 16 people to sign it. Other senators sign it, turn it into Schumer with the name above that who you want to get confirmed. He has to bring that to the floor. There has to be a vote. And so you've seen C.Q. Brown, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. You've seen some of the other people. Schumer says, I'm bringing these people to the floor. He's doing it because I forced him to do it, not because Senator Schumer wanted to do this. And I'll continue to do that. If I think we need somebody confirmed to go through regular order where everybody has the vote on it, I'll get a petition signed. And so it's just unfortunate. And I'm going to the floor again tonight, and Senator Sullivan is going to, you see me again. And I don't know whether the senator from Iowa will be there or not, or they'll bring any more, but I'll object. and I'll give a speech, and I'll have more people on my side there tonight that will be fighting for me. Stand up. I think we've even got some congressmen coming over to sit on the floor to listen to all this. But it got out of hand last week. It got pretty personal, but that doesn't really bother me, because I've been a football coach in the SEC. I've had even my fans hollering at me at games when we didn't play very good. So I've got pretty thick skin.
I'm glad to hear that there are more people who are going to be supporting you, more lawmakers. But why has this been, it seems, such a lonely endeavor for you? Why haven't there been more senators standing up and taking your side of this noble argument?
Well, there have been. You have Mike Lee, J.D. Vance, you have Roger Marshall. This, you got to remember now, this topic of abortion is the most controversial topic in mine in your lifetime.
Sure.
Everybody in this country. And so I'm pro-life. As I told, we had a meeting yesterday with conference meeting with all the senators, all 49 of us. We got in there, and I looked them all in the eye and said, listen, here's the deal. I ran on pro-life in my state of Alabama. I represent the people of Alabama, and I owe them to fight for the unborn. Now, I would think most of these other senators are in the same, they all say they're pro-life, and I do believe that they are. But sometimes you have to go above and beyond. And so I really don't care if I have a lot of people behind me. I think a lot of them really do, but I'm going to fight myself. I want the people of Alabama to know that I'm going to fight for them up here in a lot of different ways, and being pro-life is one of them.
I'm seeing a report today on CNN. I know you can give me clarification. You're the man here. They say that you have signaled a new willingness to cut a deal amid Republican tensions over the Pentagon blockade. They did reference the meeting you said you had yesterday with Republicans. Are you planning on cutting some sort of deal with the Biden administration here on these military nominees?
Yeah, but it's got to have something. It's got to have something to do with the unborn. I mean, we've got to have a policy. If we can sit down and talk about this policy again, as I told you earlier in this interview, I don't know what it is. They won't even tell us. They won't tell us whether this person can get an abortion at 1 month or 9 months. They even said that in their hearing. Senator Wicker asked the policymakers, okay, if you have a person that is pregnant, can they have an abortion at 9 months? And it was crickets. They couldn't answer that. So they don't even know. So how in the world are we going to have a policy that the American people are going to have to pay for in some form or fashion, and we don't know what the policy is? We knew what it was 9 months ago. It was rape, incest, and health of the mom. I mean, that's what it was. But now we don't even have a clear-cut policy. So why in the world would anybody be for this? Why would we not all be standing up? Not just anybody that's pro-life, just be standing on top of the Capitol, just shouting at the top of our lungs, wait a minute, you can't do this. But as I said earlier, this is huge. I'm talking about huge executive overreach.
Finally, I know you've been talking to the Pentagon about this, but there really is one man who can change all of this in a moment. That's the president of the United States, Joe Biden. When was the last time you heard from either the White House or the president himself? Never.
The only thing I've heard from Joe Biden is when he's criticized me in one of his very few press conferences. I mean, who knows who's running the country? Joe Biden doesn't know the policy. They don't have a policy. They've gotten this country so far in debt, so far in crime, the border's open. I mean, this country is slowly dying because of Joe Biden and his administration. And so be it the same with this policy on abortion. They hated what the Supreme Court did. And so that's the reason they're looking for any possible way for abortion in this country. And it makes me sick at my stomach that we would even consider that. But again, I don't have any respect for what Joe Biden has done or is doing in the future. He's done wrong in every decision he's made in 3 years. And again, again, I'm not a politician. I've been up for 3 years, and I've seen the decline of this country so much by everything that they've done through his office. And again, I don't know who's making the decision, but it's obvious that he's not the same person he was when he was a senator fighting for the same things that we're fighting for now.
Yeah, it's pretty clear where his priorities lie. He's using money that's meant for the military to kill babies. And meanwhile, our military is actually getting weaker in a bunch of meaningful ways. It's really unfortunate. Senator Tommy Tuberville, thank you so much for your time and for mounting this fight. I got to say, we have a lot of people who constantly message me to let me know they're fully behind what you're doing. Please keep fighting for your country. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. God bless you.